And we are live. Yeah, the SMT Podcast. We got a Sunday edition for you all. November 29th, 2020. Thank you all so much for being here. It is good to have you. I will be doing the YouTube side. Obviously, you're watching me on the YouTube side. I'm also going to post the audio-only version of this podcast to the Anchor side, and that gets distributed to pretty much everywhere that catches podcasts. So the RSS feed goes out, it ends up on Anchor, and then it gets distributed everywhere else. So for those of you interested in the audio-only version of the podcast, they do get posted. You don't need the video, you don't need to see me, and you just want to hear me, then that's a good way to go. So we're on Google, we're on Apple, we're on Spotify, we're on all of them. I don't know. I think it's like 12 different platforms. So do check us out there. It is the SMT Wireless Report on the podcast. I do want to say hello to everyone. So for those of you, if this is your first time here watching this live or on replay, what I do is I usually say what up to the SMT Nation, whoever's here. I acknowledge their existence and presence. We celebrate that. And then we get the show started once I get to everybody. So big shout out to Greg. Appreciate you stopping by, dude. Kimon is here. Barry's in the house. We got Sebi. Big shout out to my moderators, hashtag Mod Squad. We got Josh. We got Maximus. David is here. Jarcoan is in the house. William, info assistant. Cesar is here as well. We have James. We have Mr. Zero Cool RF. We have Vincent. Good to see you. MS is here as well. Thanks for stopping by. Gregory, good to have you as well. Looks like we have about 40 in the live as we speak. I'm really excited about tonight's show. I'm going to give you guys, a little bit of further explanation and experience that I had in the testing from my last, big speed with Sneed video. It was posted earlier today in the afternoon. A lot of driving went into it. A lot of testing. A lot of production also went into it as well. Jose, good to see you. Vic, good to see you as well. Ryan is here. Welcome. Alex, you are ready, sir. Welcome. So a lot of driving, a lot of testing went into this, and then, putting together a video with all of my thoughts and impressions and experiences, and then taking the data and crunching the numbers, kind of looking at the highs and the lows, the highlights, the lowlights, the things that I thought were good from each of the carriers, the areas where there was a struggle. Debbie, good to see you. Glad you could be here. My brother Jose, Landon, good to see you as well. Hey, you got it, man. No problem. Thank you for being here and supporting. My brother Tech Twan B, good to see you, sir. Glad you could stop by tonight. So building the script took up a couple of hours. Compiling the data and crunching the numbers took time. Recording and editing. I mean, it was, getting all the images and the screenshots, the maps. It all took time, and it was so much fun. It's a labor of love. I really enjoyed what I did. It was a fun project. I'm looking forward to doing more. And actually, I got motivated today on Twitter. There was somebody on Twitter who told me I cherry-picked an area to test so that T-Mobile would look bad, which that's just not the case. I don't go on speed tests looking to make a certain carrier look bad. I'm just looking to show a accurate representation of what the carriers are doing within a specific area, and then I report on it, where they're showing strength and where they're showing weakness. My intentions are never to single out a certain carrier, but unfortunately, for those of you that follow the SMT, and you've been a part of the nation, you know that there are some people who are very insecure and have some kind of like weird, strange personal affinity for their carrier. It's almost like they attach their identity to their cell phone provider, which is weird. I don't understand it. I don't understand the attachment, so, the cult-like following that ensues with some of these carriers, I'll just never understand it. I just don't get it. So yeah, exactly, Vic. That's essentially what it is. Hey, Stuggs. Yeah, I'm not in the business of making a certain carrier look bad. I'm in the business of assessing carrier performance so that people are more informed about how they are, so network performance and value propositions. We look at features, we look at plans, we do all those things here. And I'm not going to be changing that. The mission of the channel remains, right? So I'm not here to put any particular carrier on a pedestal. I'm here to celebrate where carriers do well, where they struggle, what those areas are, and what they can do to improve. Because the thing about it is, if we don't question, judge, investigate, if we don't hold carriers accountable for these things, they'll never change, right? They'll be stuck in stupid, right? They'll just say, oh, well, everything's fantastic. Everybody's giving us money. We'll just continue on doing whatever we're doing. That's the worst thing you could do. Quite the contrary. You need to be aggressively approaching it as in, I need to do what's best, for my pocket and for, the service I'm willing to pay for. So if everybody just said, okay, well, whatever, they're not going to be holding up their end of the bargain and improvement. They just won't change. So if we want AT&T to improve, if we want Verizon to improve, if we want T-Mobile to improve, that's what you have to do. You have to hold their feet to the fire. I want to give a special shout out to Lone Wolf. Thank you for the super chat donation. Appreciate it. I just financed the Samsung Galaxy A51 5G from AT&T. I should get it by December 3rd. I hope I don't regret leaving Boost. I don't think you're going to regret leaving Boost. I really don't. KJ Wild, good to see you. Yep. Thanks for the support, y'all. Appreciate the super chat. Thanks. Appreciate you chiming in there. Yeah. Ryan, good to see you. Andrew is in the house. Anyways, I'm going to give you guys just a little bit of insight on the testing, what I did, what I saw, different types of things that I think are important to note. I'm also going to share my screen with you all, show you guys where I traveled, the areas where I tested. I'm going to tell you why certain carriers did better than others and why certain carriers struggled with certain things. So I'm going to show you guys a map of where I drove and where I tested. It will help you understand why I saw what I saw. So, why my results, why the testing was the way it was. It'll all make sense once you see that map on Cell Mapper. So I'm very excited to do that. Tech Life, good to have you, bro. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah. I Tech Life, Mr. Tyrone, I think we cover this all the time. There are certain things that certain carriers are doing to improve their networks. There are certain issues that certain carriers have. They may not be addressing it as they should, right? So definitely going to cover it. So thanks for bringing that up, and I will definitely be backing that up for sure, 100%. Is Visible still a no-go for live streaming? I mean, I use it for live streaming. I don't know. I use it. In fact, that's how I did my testing on Periscope on Verizon, doing it through doing it through that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hey Bob, appreciate you stopping by. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to be doing the audio only version of this recording while I'm doing the YouTube side. So if it seems like things are kind of out of sync, that's kind of what I'm doing. It'll seem like I'm doing two shows at once. I'm not. I'm doing one show. One's built for the audio only version, and then we got the YouTube one. So you guys are still the best, and it's all about you. But I'm also doing the audio only version because I have subscribers and listeners that love the audio version of this. So I'm doing it for them. So to get things started with tonight's podcast, I want to let you know my rationale and my mission for my most recent Speed with Sneed video on the YouTube side. It came out today. I put it together. It was a lot of fun to do it. I got some great pictures. I got some great field experience, in testing in these more rural areas. It's been a while since I really traveled much. I just haven't been doing much during the pandemic. And then throw in the fact that, it's just nothing is pulling me out there. I don't have relatives that live in rural America. Most of my family lives in city areas, whether it's, the Midwest or the South or the East Coast or whatever the case may be. I just don't really make it into rural America. So it's been a while since I actually got to test the networks, and I've got all this access. I've got all the SIM cards. I've got the phones. I thought it was a good test. What I did was I essentially took a trip 50 miles out from the edge of my county. So to give you guys a little bit of background, I live in right on the border of Cuyahoga County and Lorain County. And right on that edge of the county, as you move south, you'll be going through very rural areas of land. The houses are, spread far apart. They're not very well developed areas. So there's some businesses here and there, but again, there's farming land, there's wooded areas, there's meadows and fields. The streets are single lane. There's no like freeways. It's all state routes and things like that. So the trip that I took consisted of winding roads and hilly roads and all these desolate areas in terms of development. When I say desolate, there's no buildings. It's rural. It's rural America. It's quiet. It's slow living. Small little shopping town villages here and there, but there's no Apple stores. There's very few gas stations, maybe every 15 or so miles, 20 miles. Not like in urban America where, there's a fueling station. There's like 2 or 3 on each block. There's a Walmart everywhere. There was none of that, right? So I was in the heart of rural Ohio, and it was fun to drive through there and look at how the carriers are doing things. One thing that I was really, really enjoying was looking at how they built the tower sites, right? I'm used to tower sites in the urban area having, rooftop placements, on apartment buildings and complexes and office buildings and stuff like that. Tower sites that are typically maybe 100 to 125 feet in height, usually not exceeding 150 feet. What I saw in this, rural part of Ohio was the emphasis on like 200 plus feet. And that's perfectly normal and fine because the goal is to get the signal to travel as far as possible without having to build more macro sites unnecessarily. So it's just a necessary evil. You got to go up high, and the people don't care, right? There's no red tape in rural America. They need cell phone coverage, and in a lot of cases, they don't even have the infrastructure, for home internet and stuff. So like cellular is a big thing. So it was interesting to see how big those towers could be in terms of height. There were monopoles, there were traditional macros. There's no millimeter wave out there. There's no small cells out there. That stuff's not happening. I think I saw one small cell on the entire 52-mile trip. It may have been a Sprint small cell or something like that. I'm not really sure. But just to kind of give you guys an idea of what I saw, doing all these little side streets, going on these, skinny roads and stuff like that. Gave me that rural appreciation of like how networks are compared to urban areas. Okay. So the trip was 52 miles one way, 52 miles back. For the most part, the carriers, they did well for the most part. What I will tell you is that there were some things that I learned about Verizon that are really promising and encouraging. I'm super excited about the future of CBRS Band 48. That's the first thing I want to mention. For those of you that are in rural America, do not think that you are going to be neglected. I do think you are going to be served by a couple of carriers very well. There's one carrier I'm particularly concerned about in rural America because I have fears that they're not going to be filling in the network gaps or the capacity needs of some of those people in certain situations. So the first carrier I want to discuss is Verizon. Verizon was really good. On that 52-mile trip, never lost a signal and mostly strong throughout the entire thing. For example, I didn't really see the RSRP, the signal strength measure on the Verizon device, dip below 115. The lower number, the better. So if you're like really, really close to a tower site, you might get like minus 59, minus 68, something like that. If you're like within the ideal range, minus 86, minus 90, something like that. As you go up in value, the signal strength is decreasing. So your speed will degrade, your signal is degrading, right? So the quality of connection suffers. I did not really see Verizon dip below 115, right? Never really 125, 135. Didn't really happen. Not often, right? I was kind of watching and stuff like that. So that was good to see. So that was a strength of Verizon, is simply that their tower density is most impressive. They literally have a tower site every couple of miles, even in rural America. They've done a really good job. They've led the way. They've been an industry leader in network coverage, and this is how they've done it, by steadily building tower sites everywhere. That's been their goal, right? So In Ohio, that's 100% the case. They have a very large footprint network. I'm not putting any other carrier down. I'm just saying that in this test, this 52-mile test in rural America and rural Ohio, Verizon had the tower density down packed, right? That was their strength. And it's because of that tower density, it also supports their capacity. No single tower is overloaded with traffic. So if Verizon is serving 500 customers on a single tower site, that's going to be a very difficult proposition if it's just a band 13 site, right? So like a single channel. So what Verizon does in that instance is Verizon will probably do two things. They'll build a secondary site nearby, and or they may just upgrade the tower site with additional carriers like band 66, band 5, stuff like that. Whatever spectrum assets they hold in that area, they can deploy more carriers, right? So, and they might do a 2-carrier aggregation configuration, 3 carriers up to 4 carriers, whatever they do, right? So what I saw from Verizon was not only a solid tower grid, right, with a lot of tower sites spaced out perfectly, but they also had multiple carriers on each of those sites. For the most part, I didn't really see many single carrier sites. Most sites had 2, some sites had 3, and a couple sites had 4 carriers, right? 4 carrier aggregation is typically reserved for like urban, densely populated areas. I think I saw it once in my early testing. Maybe it was 3 carrier or 4 carrier. But after that, it was pretty much all 2 carriers. So we saw like band 13 and band 66, band 5 and band 13. It was always like a 2 carrier configuration, and it seemed to hold up pretty good. Verizon does a good job of meeting the demands of their customers. There are some places in the US where Verizon is congested. I've seen the screenshots. I know it exists, but in this testing, it did not happen. There was no particular area where I thought Verizon was congested. It held up great. Proof of this, I was live streaming this testing on Periscope, which is one of the most taxing video apps that you can utilize. It's an app that utilizes downlink. It's an app that utilizes uplink. And to add insult to injury, to show you how strong Verizon was in this testing, it only glitched like a single time. Hey, babe, good to see you. It only glitched one time very early in the testing, and it really didn't glitch ever again on that 52-mile trip. So a very short while. I'm guessing maybe the signal strength was weak there, but for the most part, I was cooking, and I was using Visible. For those of you who don't know who Visible is a prepaid MVNO of Verizon. Bottom priority, bottom tier, bottom of the barrel, scraping network priority, the lowest of the low. It held the stream flawlessly. I actually put the link to that Periscope live in the video in the description box of today's video. Verizon was absolutely tremendous. Visible was tremendous. It held the stream. It was so good. The downlink was very good. The uplink was tremendous. It was the best of the 3 carriers. Everything was really good about their testing. There were a couple slow tests where they got like 2 megabits, 8 megabits. I only call that slow because there are probably times where under certain conditions, you might feel like a pretty serious throttle under those conditions. And that would be a concern. Your video might buffer, or a file might take a while to load, or downloading an app may take you some extra time. So I'm not going to say they're perfect. Verizon is not perfect. And I know they have coverage gaps. No carrier has 100% coverage. But in this testing, they were fantastic. They were great. Highlight of the day, and Nikki, if you're out there, you can attest to this. I found a tower site in rural America for Verizon that not only was 3 carrier aggregation, but it had a 4th carrier that was CBRS band 48. For those of you that don't know CBRS band 48, it is 3.5 gigahertz, frequently found in 20 megahertz channels. It offers great throughput. It's a total speed boost. Any carrier can use it when it's unlicensed, right? So I've seen T-Mobile use it in certain instances. I've tested it on AT&T and Verizon personally. Very fast. Okay. The only applications though that I've seen it in are cities. I am so excited to see if Verizon is going to leverage that asset in their network configurations moving forward for rural America. Because I think what Verizon can do is, if Verizon can leverage the CBRS, the 3.5 gigahertz band 48, at those sites, they might be able to pull off home internet for those people in rural America, for those that are not adequately served by companies like Comcast, Cox Communications, these home ISPs that don't really serve the customers well, whether it's pricing or quality of service, customer care, whatever the issues are. We know that, customer care is a big pain point, and pricing and stuff. All that for home internet is legit, dependability, whatever. If they get 20 or 40 megahertz, so they go like multi-channel CBRS, you could essentially have a site that produces anywhere between 3 to 500 megabits per second downlink, 50 to 100 megabits per second uplink. Once that moves to standalone 5G, theoretically, the technology improves to the point where we're getting even more downlink. We get even more uplink. The latency drops with 5G. We have ourselves a winner. The home internet service providers are at attention. They're watching this. They know what's coming. So I'm not joking when I say that there is a legitimate possibility. I don't know if it's going to be a strategic deployment in Ohio. I don't know if it's going to happen in PA or Illinois or Indiana, Alabama, Mississippi. I don't know. I'm just saying this is something that we could see a tower site for Verizon hitting peak speeds above 500 megabits per second using 20 to 40 additional megahertz of spectrum and CBRS. You could use home internet. That would be a game changer for Verizon, and that would be a game changer for people. Because Verizon looks to be charging about $50 a month for their service. That is fair, and that is competitive, and that's what rural America needs. Beyond the traditional home ISP, which doesn't want to dig around and install fiber, if Verizon can bolster their towers with additional carriers, increasing bandwidth, we have ourselves some new home internet options, especially as we approach 5G. I was so excited to see that. And I tested it from a mile away, and it got 150 megabits per second. And when I got up against it and got pretty close and got in direct line of sight and all that good stuff, so the RP dropped, to ideal range, man, I was getting 250 megs. That's only on 20 megahertz of it. What if we double it to 40? What if we're talking 5G, right? So everything improves. Very exciting to see Verizon doing this. I didn't expect it. I really didn't. That was great. Overall, Verizon was a phenomenal carrier on this trip. They did a great job. I'm very excited about what they're doing moving forward. Their network is very strong, and this testing proved it. There are some people just jumping in the live chat. I just wanted to kind of say hello to everyone. Alicia, good to have you. J1010 stuck 5 megabits per megabits down and 1 up on Verizon. Yeah, there's some areas where they need to upgrade, improve the tower modernizations and things like that. Yes, totally agree, Adam. Absolutely. Totally agree. Zach says, even with good fiber backhaul my area, I get 40 plus ping consistently on AT&T. That's not bad. Now the ping, it's a little high, but I mean, it's prepaid. I mean, no surprises there, I don't think. Yeah, Chief, Sprint's good in Phoenix. That is true. I've heard that before. Yeah, the thing, Josh, we got to keep into consideration. A lot of those Band 13 sites, that stuff's got to stop. No more of those Band 13 only sites. They got to get 66. They got to get more, right? Hey, Cesar, good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. Hey, Sylvester, good to see you, man. AT&T's very good. I'm actually going to talk about them next. AT&T is a good home internet option. They do have good services. All right. The next item I want to cover is AT&T. And I was actually going to save AT&T last, but I'll just do AT&T now. It's a carrier that I'm really, really excited about. So one of the things that I've been saying for a while, and I don't know, I probably like the last several months or so, definitely through the calendar year, dating all the way back to January, I've been noticing that AT&T has been taking their wireless side very, very seriously. They're building out nationwide on a grand scale, and it makes total sense. They have a Huge government contract, the FirstNet contract, which essentially has them building out their network, and they're getting paid to do it. So the United States federal government gives them this FirstNet contract. Here's band 14. This is 700 megahertz. We're going to give it to you national. Build it out. We need our individualized specific network core for our first responders, for our military, for the government officials, right? This very unique network slice. FirstNet is not AT&T. FirstNet is FirstNet that is, operated and developed by AT&T. There is some shared access between AT&T customers and FirstNet. So like band 14 and stuff, there's a lot of priority stuff that goes into that, the network core and stuff. I don't really want to get into that too much, but let me explain what I saw in my testing from AT&T. AT&T is doing a couple of things. Number one, AT&T is improving their tower density. They are building new sites all over America, and the pace is very, very good. It's not blazingly fast, as if like we've never seen this before, but it's very steady. Every month, every couple of months, every 6 months, there is a certain increase of capacity that we're seeing from AT&T, and it's coming from, number one, new tower sites that are being built. So areas where they didn't have coverage, they do now. And then the other side to this is, as they are visiting tower sites and upgrading sites with band 14, according to the FirstNet contract, they're also upgrading and fitting those sites with additional carriers and more bands. So whenever they're climbing a tower and putting in band 14, they're also upgrading it with additional mid-band, which adds tons of capacity. So band 30, band 66, band 5, if they have it in that area, those are all being utilized in these cases. In my testing, I saw a very, very steady dosage of multiple carrier sites for AT&T. Very frequently, I saw 2 and 3 carriers. So it would be like band 5, band 12, right? And I would also see band 30 and band 66 and band 2. I saw all of this. It's the same thing that I saw with Verizon. Verizon was on AWS, which is mid-band, band 66, for like 90% of the trip. And for like half of the trip or more, I saw their N5, their 5G, nationwide 5G. I didn't see no millimeter wave over there. So what I'm trying to say is the two best providers on this test were frequently showing mid-band the whole way. For the most part, like 80 to 90% of the time. When you are always connected to mid-band, chances are it's going to be fast. The network needs it. There's users on the network. The only way to do that is with mid-band because the mid-band channels are wider, right? And mid-band's valuable. It's really important to consumer wireless. Now, if you're in a really isolated rural area, a single carrier may do a band 13 for Verizon, a band 12 for AT&T. It might do. Not a lot of people on the network, that sort of thing. The thing is, though, is as your network begins to get congested, the users are utilizing more bandwidth. They need more bandwidth. You have to upgrade carriers, right? You got to add additional bands. So if a site only has band 12, you're going to need also, band 66 or band 2. That's all there is to add. You can't really do much else. Now, AT&T has band 30. That's a huge upgrade, too. I saw a lot of that, especially the last third of the trip. AT&T had band 30 everywhere, and it was blasting an effective range over 2 miles, which tells me that they are doing it right. They're building tall sites, they're projecting the signal, and it's getting extended reach. So a lot of the things that I saw from Verizon, I also saw from AT&T. Verizon had a great uplink. AT&T did not have a great uplink. It was decent at best. Frequently in the single digits. Verizon was frequently over 20 megabits in uplink. It was tremendous. So the thing I'm telling you, though, is when I look back a few years ago, AT&T did not have this coverage and they did not have this capacity. So in my opinion, it's not just that AT&T is building out fast. It's that for the last 2 or 3 years, they have completely renovated and modernized their network to compete with Verizon. Verizon stood alone as basically the only true national carrier. Nobody really competed. Even AT&T was a distant second, in my opinion. I mean, I always thought AT&T was doable, but they definitely had gaps in their coverage in Ohio. Man, there were no gaps in AT&T's coverage at all on my trip. It was very similar to Verizon coverage, and it was even better for capacity than Verizon. And there's two reasons. Number one, AT&T has more spectrum. They have more carrier bands to aggregate. And number two, Verizon has long had the market share. You ask anybody in rural America, you ask truckers, it's Verizon. Well, that means that their network can also be congested even in the rural America setting because everybody has it. AT&T decided we're going to take it seriously, and they have. Now, in this tested area that I tested, AT&T is legit. You can have AT&T and probably have a better experience than Verizon. Probably. Now, the uplink was better on Verizon, but the downlink was better on AT&T. AT&T also doesn't throttle video. If you have a standard plan, like one of their unlimited plans, like their Plus or their Elite, those types of plans get preferred access, priority. Man, you're going to get the greatest of video resolutions. Probably better than what Verizon's going to give you. So if I was in this area where I tested and I was looking for high resolution video playback, AT&T is the one. You got the bandwidth and you got the video playback. Verizon is old faithful. They had service everywhere, but they're not giving you the capacity that AT&T can. So in my testing, in a way, the king now has a mate. If Verizon has been known as this coverage king, AT&T is now there. They are there. They are knocking at the door. They might even kick in this door. You look at their spending. AT&T has gone from spending like 18 to 20 to 22 billion in the last few years. And that investment is paying off. Their network is legit. It's fast and it's extensive. And based on the FirstNet contract, they are going to cover the entire US with LTE and 5G. And it showed. It really, really showed in this testing. The one thing I will say, AT&T was not perfect. The uplink could be improved. Also, the latency could be improved as well. They're not perfect. But man, I'm telling you, it was nice to see that AT&T and Verizon are at each other's heels. They're nipping at their heels 100%. AT&T is a legitimate player. I think if you're thinking about switching carriers from either Verizon or T-Mobile, you got to consider AT&T. You got to. It was that good in my testing, and it's that good in the CLE. I know it's something to look at for you. It might be really good, especially if you can get a good deal on your plan. It's got great access. Very, very good showing from AT&T on this trip. Now, I will throw in the reason I'm less excited about AT&T is because AT&T is probably not going to be doing any type of fixed home wireless in a lot of these parts of rural America. I don't know if that's really in their plans. Their focus is more fiber. That's a little harder to do grand scale. But one of the things I will note is that AT&T's fiber investment is paying off, especially in areas where they upgraded backhaul and did the modernizations to these tower sites. Absolutely tremendous showing from AT&T in the testing. Big time speeds, big time. I wouldn't be surprised if within a year or two, the conversation is completely switched and AT&T is the coverage king. That is very possible. I know Verizon has the edge because they've kind of jumped ahead several years, but no joke. This trip opened up my eyes to AT&T's coverage. It really did. I'm going to do more testing. I'm going to go to more areas. I'm going to test AT&T more aggressively. But the old adage that Verizon's the only one competing national, I think that's got to start changing. If it's not changed already, it's going to be changing very soon. The national narrative about wireless coverage is shifting. It really is. Next item I want to discuss, and this will kind of be like the third carrier. We've already discussed Verizon. We've already looked at AT&T. Now we got to kind of wrap things up with T-Mobile. So there's a couple of things I want to note about T-Mobile. I remember T-Mobile several years ago. going back to like 2012 and 2014 and 2015, they were never really a legitimate option for anybody who lived in rural America. It just wasn't the case. They are the youngest network. They're the youngest wireless telecom in the U.S. remaining. They just didn't have the coverage, right? They have not had the low band. The tower density has been questionable. They've relied heavily upon roaming agreements in certain places. And that's just how it is when you understand it takes time to build out a network. But, now I think after my testing, I actually see T-Mobile a little bit different. I did not expect them to have as much coverage as they did. I expected them to have more gaps. I expected them to have a weaker showing just based on my prior experience. So I'm actually glad I did this testing because there is some celebration to do about T-Mobile on this trip. They performed pretty well, actually, mostly always having signal. There were a couple of locations that didn't. And then there was a couple of locations that without Sprint, they wouldn't either. So those are a couple of things I want to highlight as areas of need. Now, here's a couple of things I want to say. The improvement that T-Mobile has made over the last 5 to 6 years is tremendous. They've done a huge, 180 of their coverage. It's no longer, the lack of coverage network. Like, it's not completely lacking. There's still gaps and they have to be filled, but they're going to address that. They now have band 71. They have 600 megahertz. Those things will help. When they get those sites upgraded to 600 megahertz, the coverage will improve. The low band is going to be massive. The one thing I'm concerned about, though, is the tower density is low, meaning there's not enough sites where there should be additional locations with towers. So here's what that does. If you don't have a tower grid that's substantial, like Verizon's or AT&T's, for example, certain sites will get overloaded, more and more customers on specific sites. So, for example, if there's a city that only has 3 tower sites and it's serving 1,000 people, well, if you made it 5 sites and spaced them out, you'd have 5 sites serving those 1,000 people. So just the rules of physics, the laws of physics, less people per site. This decreases the effect of congestion. It improves the wireless experience of all customers because they're more spaced out on the towers. That was one of the issues I saw with T-Mobile. Some of the speeds were lacking. The downlink speeds were the weakest of the 3. The uplink speeds were the weakest of the 3. The latencies were the highest of the 3. And it was the only carrier that went without a signal at any point. And it did go without a signal for 2 separate stretches of multiple miles. One stretch was probably closer to like 2 miles, maybe 2.25 miles. The other one was probably closer to 3 miles. So there was at least 5 miles of stretch with no LTE or 5G. So that tells me that there is still tower builds that need to happen, 600 megahertz low band that needs to be deployed in those areas that I tested. Verizon had no such issues. AT&T had no such issues. There's a clear distinction between the low band rollout of the 3 companies. T-Mobile's not done. They need to do more. They have to cover and fill those gaps, or else those customers are going to stay with AT&T and Verizon. So in order to change the narrative, in order to change the story on T-Mobile as not having coverage and not having a strong network, that's where T-Mobile needs to address their issues. I just talked about how AT&T is changing the narrative. They are now in the same coverage conversation with Verizon. I really feel that. Well, the opposite side of that is what I learned is still confirmed. T-Mobile still has coverage issues and they have tower density issues. They don't have enough sites. They need more. And that is a function of their spending. The network spending that Verizon has set as a precedence, 17, 18 billion the last couple of years. AT&T spending 21, 22 billion each year over the last couple of years. It's tremendous. That spending allows you to deploy new tower sites, upgrades to pre-existing sites, more carriers, new technologies, research and development, all these things. T-Mobile just hasn't been able to do that. They're the smaller carrier, they're the underdog, all those things. But now that they've consumed Sprint, they've got this new revenue stream, more customers, greater scale. In order to serve those customers, they're going to have to do this. They're going to have to spend more. So they can improve their network. They can be a national player. It's just going to correlate to how much money they spend. They have to spend as much as Verizon and AT&T if they're going to perform like Verizon and AT&T. So here was my experience. Within the first 5 to 10 miles, T-Mobile service went out. No signal. Probably within the same 5 to 10 mile stretch initially, there was also WCDMA and Edge and 3G HSPA Plus. So those things, those sites are going to have to be upgraded. They're going to need LTE radios. They're going to need 5G radios. So those things have to happen, right? When I was connected to anything other than LTE and 5G, it would not load an app. I could not do anything on the phone. So even though I was getting a signal, even though I had like testable speed, I really couldn't do anything on my phone with the T-Mobile SIM when it wasn't in 4G LTE or 5G. So it was basically useless. So those things have to be addressed. After that, after those two stretches, there was probably around the 45th mile, as I was approaching the 50-mile mark, I found a pretty cool thing happening. My T-Mobile phone was connecting to the Sprint network. Band 26, 800 megahertz, low band. Band 25, the 1.9 gigahertz PCS. And band 41, the 2.5 gigahertz. Awesome. That's fantastic. That's precisely what the merger was about. It was about taking Sprint's synergies with T-Mobile and creating this mega network between the two companies. Jobs have been sacrificed. People have been moved around to different stores. Stores have closed. There's all these redundancies that have to be eliminated. Mergers suck. But at least we could say that the benefit of the network is going to show. So that means, and this happened a couple of times, and especially the last 5 to 10 miles, T-Mobile probably did not have, and I couldn't connect to it, any native networking. It was all Sprint. So there was a multiple 5 to 10 mile stretch where T-Mobile's answer to coverage was Sprint, which is exactly what the merger was about. Tremendous. This was great. That means there are T-Mobile customers who didn't have coverage there before, had roaming, now have native coverage. Their experience is going to improve. I was very happy to see that. And it was fast, 10, 15, 20 megabits. I call that fast because it's rural America. It doesn't need to be 100 megabits. AT&T was scoring real high on the downlink. They were getting like 80, 90 megabits. Verizon was kind of like that 20 to 40 mark, right? 50 mark. But yeah, I mean, this is exactly what the merger was about. So my testing showed me that T-Mobile still has coverage gaps. It also showed me that the Sprint merger is paying off because now they've got native coverage through the Sprint sites. They're going to keep those sites. They'll keep them operative. They're probably going to upgrade them and modernize them and get some N41 out there and stuff like that eventually, whatever the case may be. Those things are good. Those things are promising. But like I said, there are two things that T-Mobile has to do. And it circles back to one more thing. The two things they have to do: build additional tower sites where they don't have coverage, add 600 megahertz band 71 as abundantly as possible. Wherever they have coverage issues, edge site, they got to add 600 megahertz. Wherever they don't have a stretch of 5 miles without a tower site, build one and put N71 on there, band 71, put it all on there. All right. That's what you got to do. And all of that goes back to their spending. They have to spend the money. They can't lollygag. The focus can't just be giving stuff away for free. My homie Carlos, we've talked about this. I feel like the culture does kind of have to change. No more of that fake it till you make it business. No more of that acting and all this other stuff. When I was testing these networks, it was not to put any carrier down. It was to get the truth of the testing of the carriers in this segment of Ohio. Right. And yeah. And Sebi, you mentioned the decom of the 2G and 3G. Absolutely. And upgrade those. Right. Yeah, exactly. I was pleasantly surprised at how much improvement T-Mobile made. That was great. It's just not as good as AT&T and Verizon as it currently stands. That's all I wanted to say about T-Mobile, right? Increase the spending, plug up those holes, shore up the network, you're good to go. So my takeaways, Verizon was tremendous. It held the live stream on prepaid priority with Visible. AT&T was incredible. The upgraded backhaul, the fiber optic into these towers. I mean, there were band 12 only sites doing like 50 megabits. There was like band 12 and band 30 sites doing 100 megabits. It was really nice to see that stuff. It was great. I know that T-Mobile wants to do home internet in all these rural parts of America. They're going to have to simply upgrade their network. There's no way they're going to be able to do home internet in the place I tested. No way. There was not a single site doing more than 50 megabits per second. No way. Absolutely not. If they're going to do home internet and TV in these places, they're going to have to add N41 and add N71 and all these other carriers. They're going to have to go big, right? And that'll create that revenue stream. I think it'll pay off for them. All right. So yeah, that was my trip. Verizon was incredible. AT&T was very good. T-Mobile had made huge strides, and they've got some areas to improve. But like I said, with their spending, they can definitely do it. Josh says T-Mobile needs to do that $10 N41 charge. They need that money. I don't know. I don't know if that's going to fly with these people. I thought about, I called it the fast 5G charge, right? I don't know. I don't know how that would fly with customers. It looks to me like the T-Mobile customer is not very receptive of that, but you got to do what you got to do. I mean, the price lock lifts in a couple of years. They've got a 3-year price lock guarantee through the FCC deal and the antitrust of the DOJ. So, Michael, thank you for that donation. I appreciate it very much, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. For those of you that maybe sent donations or super chats and I missed it, thank you for that. Kind of caught up in this whole show thing. Yeah, Sebi, I totally agree. I think there's going to be a lot of pushback. I don't think it's going to be well received. I mean, anytime there's a price increase, it's a problem. But I do think that moving forward after the next 2 years, I mean, they just might have to do it. They just might have to bite the bullet or add some kind of a feature set, price it a certain way that gets them the revenue from that. Calling it a fast 5G charge and giving people access to it kind of deal. James, why did you get banned? I didn't ban you, dude. You can absolutely disagree with my opinions. I have no problem with that. I'm not a stock analyst. I don't do shares and stuff, dude. So you're more than welcome and entitled to your opinion. I'll never claim to be some kind of expert at anything. I'm a consumer. I'm on the outside looking in. I'm not an investor. I don't invest in any of these companies. Actually, in my opinion, if you're an investor in a wireless telecom, I don't think you're in a place where you should be offering commentary on it. So I personally choose not to invest in the wireless providers. I don't want to be questioned like, oh, his credibility is not valid, because he invests in Verizon or AT&T or T-Mobile. I'm not willing to do that on a personal level. So yeah, James, I do have a lot of mods. James, you're good, man. You're okay. You can be critical. I'm good with that. Bro, you're good, man. Welcome to the show. I'm glad you're here, man. Thanks for coming back. Good to have you, man. Why do you think AT&T excels so much in iPhones? So, Jamie, AT&T has been the king of iPhones since the first generation. Remember, they had the exclusivity of the iPhone. So this goes back a long time. It goes back to, I don't know, what was the year of the first iPhone? Was it 2009 or something? That's that relationship, right? The first distribution retailer of the iPhone was AT&T, right? So it goes back that far. And then what AT&T does is, I think, being that they have that relationship, that long-standing relationship, they've always known that they were the best seller. 2007, thank you. The best seller of that phone. They've always kind of like tested the phone, worked with the network using the phone. iPhones work great on Verizon too. iPhones can work well on T-Mobile. It's not like one's better than the other. It's just that AT&T has always had that long-standing relationship. And in my opinion, now with this whole like Verizon 5G iPhone swap fleet thing with Verizon, now you're going to start putting Verizon in that discussion as being the king of the iPhone too. All right. So, but interesting that you brought that up. Yeah, that connection has been there for a long time. Absolutely. Thanks, Michael. Appreciate you, buddy. Thank you so much. Appreciate the donations and the support from you. Thank you. Do you think more should be spent on improving rural coverage instead of 5G? You can improve rural coverage with 5G, low band and mid band. Millimeter wave probably is not required unless you're being used for IAB. So, providing backhaul through millimeter wave. And honestly, in my opinion, Dean, I'm kind of done with LTE now that we've tasted what 5G can do with millimeter wave and what standalone can do. I'm just ready for standalone services, whether it's low band, mid band, or millimeter wave. It's all good to me. I just want standalone services at this point. So yeah, T-Mobile's obviously doing big things with 600 megahertz. It's a big part of their future. That's low band 5G that rural America can capitalize on, right? What's up, James? Good to have you. Will C-band for Verizon take further the gap in service between them and AT&T? Yeah, I think actually what I think C-band is going to do is if we look at mid-band as in like levels, right? So T-Mobile's got mid-band here. They got a lot. AT&T's got mid-band here and Verizon's got mid-band here. What we're expecting is if AT&T is here with their mid-band, with C-band, Verizon's going to do this, and then AT&T is going to do some C-band and do this, so they'll be kind of like level in a way. That's kind of what we're predicting. And then they'll kind of get closer to T-Mobile because we're just talking about holdings. Deployment's a totally different story. But that's what I anticipate. I expect Verizon to go big in C-band. AT&T will get a nice size chunk as well. We're going to see the mid-band gap close between all the carriers. There'll be less parity. Right now it's T-Mobile's got a lot from the Sprint deal. AT&T holds a nice chunk as well. Verizon's very low. So they're going to close the gap through C-band and CBRS. Can't forget about that. So we got 3.5 gigahertz CBRS, and then we have C-band 3.7 gigahertz. Franco, good to see you. I feel like Apple didn't have confidence in the sale of the iPhone 12. What else would every carrier doing? Well, that's the carrier, Franco. That's not really the phone, right? That's the carrier trying to get people to switch to their network. Not really about the iPhone. Septian says, I'm not expecting much from 5G till summer 2022. I mean, that'll be the time where things really are taking off. 2022 is going to be a big year for 5G. 2021 will be big too, only because it's going to be kind of like the onset. CBRS is going to be deployed. So we're excited about that for sure. Ryan says, I think AT&T will surprise us in the C-band. I don't know. I feel like it's going to be like a 60-40 kind of split between AT&T and Verizon, personally. It's kind of what I think. I could be wrong. I'm just speculating, I'm willing to switch to 5G in the future. Sure, it's going to take some time to mature, Michael. Totally agree. My brother Jose, that's right, brother. Jose with the $5 super chat. Thanks, man. I appreciate you so much. Let's see. Kimon says near Uptown Charlotte, Denver, North Carolina. Quite a bit of band 71 and 41 is on several towers. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be situational. The band 41 upgrades is, it's really up to the carriers, right? How much they want to build. It's a lot harder to build out the 2.5 gigahertz than T-Mobile's letting on. Based on early testing, the speeds aren't as promising as we thought. It's going to take some time. It will be good. It will take time. My estimation, band 41 will be mature within 4 years. I don't really care what Neville says. Neville speaks to investors. I don't care about investors. He's not convincing me. I'm not an investor. When you sign lease deals for 600 megahertz for the next 42 months, that's a sign that you're not going to be done with N41 for 42 months. Lavendi, you have the sharpest of eyes, sir. Yes, this is the Audio Technica. Let me know how it's sounding, man. And actually, I don't know if you remember how the Blue Yeti sounds. I don't know if this one's better, if the Blue Yeti is better. You guys let me know. Let me know if you like. I know they look different. I'm just the sound quality. Is there any difference? Low and mid bands are better. May not have the fastest speeds, but indoor penetration and long distance coverage is grand. Yeah, no arguments here, man. Coverage is important. Working indoors is important. Hey, Dimitri, what's going on? 400 megabits from proper LTE. Oh, yeah. LTE latency can't mess with 5G latency. There are certain applications of future usage, LTE just won't cut it. For example, connected cars and autonomous vehicles, 5G is going to be really the technology where we start to see that happening. LTE is just not able to really do it. Just not. Also, with like healthcare and in the medical fields of automation and all these things need ultra low latency, and LTE just can't do it. Thanks, James. Appreciate the comment. Thank you so much for the support. Heading up to New Hampshire, miles on end with no service. I'm just curious, like how many miles we talking? Like 5 miles, 10 miles, 50 miles? Kind of give me always on the lookout for the one mic to roll them off. I just need a couple. I like the condenser. I love my Blue Yeti, but when the heat is on and the air conditioning, that blower's on, it picks up everything. So that's why I use the Audio Technica. This one's a dynamic. It's much quieter, so it doesn't pick up everything, which is good. It just picks up my voice. I'm like right now the heater's on. I could hear it blowing, but I don't think you guys can hear it. So. Verizon, the only one with service at my house. Well, you don't really have options then, do you? Hopefully that changes soon. More tower sites. Why pay hard-earned money and wait 4 years for T-Mobile to get together? Pay for That's right. That's right. Spend the money with the carrier that works great for you now. Absolutely. Off and on for a period of 4 miles. AT&T and Verizon have this. Yeah, that happens quite often. I need Joe Rogan's mic. Nah, man. I actually like the SM7B. I'm probably gonna get one, or I might get the MV7. I don't know. Maybe if there's a good deal on Cyber Monday. Area code 92399. Oh, you know what I wanted to do with you guys? I don't see how any of your comments are really just your opinions. The numbers and date do not lie. It seems like the testing video is much more objective facts. Barry, I do my best. It's real world testing. Numbers that are extracted from an Ookla speed test, that everybody else can use. I gave my site locations. You see the tower site data. It's all there. I don't know, man. Some people are just off the hook. What I wanted to do with you guys, and I'm going to do a share screen. And I think you guys will enjoy this. Okay, what I want to do is I'm going to be sharing my screen because I want to show you guys where my test. What's up, LT Dunn? I'm going to show you guys what I did on my trip. This is Cuyahoga County. All of this entire area. All right, this whole area that's being pointed out here, okay? All of it. If you notice, this is T-Mobile, okay? I got the box here. All right, I can change the carrier. All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how good T-Mobile is in Cuyahoga County. Franco, appreciate the super chat. Do you feel like John Leisure dipped when his contract ended because he needed the merger would experience? Absolutely. And actually, the real reason is probably because the new T-Mobile company is very different than what he created. They want to move in a different direction, and that contradicts what he stood for and what he did. I think that's really what it is. It's two totally different thoughts, schools of thought, different approaches. They conflicted. Thanks for the super chat, Franco. Appreciate you. All right, so let's take a look at T-Mobile. Does T-Mobile have the tower density in Cuyahoga County where Cleveland is? Yeah, they do. These are all sites, all these little red circles. All right, so very good for Cuyahoga County. They don't really have many network gaps. If you look at the density of tower sites, they're pretty good. I mean, there's no major stretches of huge gaps. Little bit of space here and there. So in those particular places, like I'll find one for example. So like here, for example, right? There might be a location here, right here in the middle, where maybe, it's this tower site might be slightly congested or this one. But for the most part, there's going to be enough towers here to take on all that traffic. So that area is probably not even really a concern. But if you notice, this area might be a concern. You've got a couple of tower sites here, and you've got one over here, bottom left, a little bit of a gap here. Get what I'm saying? That's why tower density is important. Now let's look at this area right here, okay? I have no idea who has tower sites in this area. Here's T-Mobile. Let's click on AT&T, okay? If you click on AT&T on Cell Mapper, AT&T looks to have some coverage issues possibly. All right, so I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to see if there's any sites. It looks like AT&T does have multiple carriers on all these sites, and they are reaching probably to all these areas. I will tell you guys that the freeway is probably about 1.5 miles, 2 miles from the lake. So different ways to do this. So in my opinion, the T-Mobile network in this area is probably decent. It probably doesn't have any issues. If I look at AT&T, it's probably good. It probably doesn't have issues. Let's take a look at Verizon. Notice Verizon puts their nodes or their tower sites a little closer to each other. So they've got this area covered, and then they've got a couple scattered here. 4 carriers on this site, 3 carriers on this side. Verizon probably has the highest market share in this area. Right? This keeps the network from being congested by having tower density and multiple carriers on each site. Appreciate you, LT Dunn. No problem, man. Thank you for the support. Thanks for the super chat. Appreciate it very much. All right, now what I want to do is I actually want to show you guys where I tested. You remember I had a couple of trouble areas for T-Mobile. You are not going to have trouble areas for T-Mobile in the CLE. It's not going to happen. Look at all this. All right. So here's Verizon. I want to show you guys something. I'm just going to pick T-Mobile. I'm going to show you guys where I did my trip. All right. The start of my trip was here. Okay. In this area. You see all those sites? T-Mobile doesn't have issues around the CLE. T-Mobile doesn't have any problems over here. T-Mobile's got a great network in this area. Tons of tower sites. Okay. Now watch. My trip took me south. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and I'm going to show you my trip, and I'm going to show you the tower density that T-Mobile has. It's fine out here. We are good. Those are enough tower sites. It's dense. It's good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep scrolling down, and I'm going to show you guys what starts to happen as you move away from the CLE. Less and less tower sites. Now it's okay. There's not a lot of people in this area, so you don't need tons of capacity. But if you don't put enough, if you don't have enough tower sites, enough tower builds, that's when the coverage starts to suffer. And then the capacity can suffer too. So this is still good. T-Mobile's still good here. Still good. All right, now here's where we're starting to see a little bit of space with no tower sites, right? So here's one with band 12 and 66. That's okay. Here's another one with 12 and 66. They're separated by a few miles. That's okay. We might have problems here in this area if there's no tower sites to the left. And we don't. We have 1 band 2 only site over here. So when I was in this area, this is one of the places where I lost signal. And this is one of the areas where it was really slow. So if I ran a speed test, it may not have performed very well. Now let's keep this going. I'm going to keep going south. All right. This is a good T-Mobile site. Band 2, 12, 66, and 71. That's going to be really fast. You get what I'm saying? This band 2 only site, that's not a very good one. That one's going to have to be upgraded to get an additional carrier. Here's a 12 and a 66. Those are good to see. One tower site there. It's got 3 carriers. Notice the band 71. Every tower site that I connected to that was band 71 had between like 15 and 20 megabits. That's what we need from T-Mobile. Here's a congested site, probably, based on the spacing. But if you notice, it probably holds up pretty good here. 3 carriers on this site, 3 carriers on this one, 3 here. Those are some recent upgrades. That's good to see. All right, y'all, here's a problem. This entire area lacks coverage. All we have is a 12 and a 66 site here. This whole area is going to be a gap. See what I mean? Now, I want to take this troubled area, this gap, right? We got a tower site over here. I'm going to try to get this. We got one up here and we got one down here. Okay, so we got 3 sites in this area. What do you think AT&T is going to look like? Do you think they're any better? Do you think they're worse? What do you guys think? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tower sites where T-Mobile has 3. This one has 2, 12, 17, 30, and 66. That is a 5 carrier site. That's a 5GE site. Here's a band 12 over here. That'll give you coverage. Here's a 2 and a 17. That's a capacity and coverage. Here's a 4 carrier site, 2, 12, 14, and 17. Here's a 12 and a 30. These sites are fast and they have good density. Let's see what Verizon is doing in this location. What do you guys think? You guys think Verizon will be decent here? I'm just curious. Curious to hear what you guys would predict. Let's see what Verizon is doing over here, shall we? All right, I'm looking for it. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tower sites. So T-Mobile had 3. AT&T had 6. Verizon has 8 in this area. You could see in this particular trip that I took, Verizon being the most dedicated to wireless networking, they've got the head start. They've built the tower sites. They're not perfect, guys. Here's why I'm going to explain to you they're not perfect. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of their 8 sites have only 2 carriers. Verizon has a huge market share here. They need more. This site has 5, 13, and 66. All of these sites probably need 5, 13, and 66. All of them. They all need that extra 5 to 10 megahertz of band 5. They just do. They do. Should we keep going? Let's go. Let's see if we can continue to find any coverage gaps here. Here we go. This is where my trip ended. Does anybody see a problem in this image? This is where my trip ended. This was the last thing I did here. Caleb, you remember this. This was the last piece of my trip. What's the problem for T-Mobile here? Not a single tower site. 6 to 8 months ago, no coverage. T-Mobile literally would have either been roaming on a different carrier or had no signal. Watch this. Sprint. This tower site saved the day. This is a Sprint site. These people in this area that are T-Mobile customers now have a connection. This Sprint site will 100% be a keep site. It has low band, band 26 is 800 megahertz. It has mid band, band 25, which is PCS 1.9 gigahertz, and then band 41, which is 2.5 gigahertz. I tested this site. It was 20 megahertz of band 41, 10 megahertz of band 25, 5 megahertz band 26. This site saved the day. This is the Sprint map, Barry. This area, this is one Sprint site around Smithville. This is where my trip ended. Let's take a look at AT&T. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sites. It's not all perfect for AT&T though. That is excellent tower density. That is very good coverage. But look, if this is a high market share area, band 2 and 12 is good. Here's a band 12 only, another band 12 only, and another band 12 only. Here's a band 5, band 12. 2 or more of these sites need additional carriers to add capacity. So band 30, band 14. You get what I'm saying? What do you guys think Verizon looks like? Just curious. Let's take a look. 3 tower sites. So if you lived in this area, if this was your home area, guess which carrier you need? AT&T. Sure, these sites are good. 13 and 66, 13 and 66, 2, 13 and 66. They're not bad, but signal here is not going to be very good. When I tested this area, Verizon got 3 megabits per second. When I tested T-Mobile, Sprint was getting 15 megabits. When I tested AT&T, I was getting 90 megabits per second in this area. This is where my trip ended. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to show you all why Verizon is considered to be the coverage king in certain places, because they densify by putting a lot of tower sites everywhere. And the reason why AT&T is nipping at their heels is because they're also increasing their tower density, but also upgrading their towers extensively. They're not just building more tower sites, but they're stacking multiple carriers, tons of antennas, having multiple bands. And this is where T-Mobile needs to go. They need to take on these network qualities, these network characteristics, more tower sites with more bands. Oh, T-Mobile's network is great in the CLE. It's not great in Smithville, wherever that is. It's not great in Sterling, Ohio. It's not great in Medina or Hinckley. They still struggle in rural coverage. They still struggle outside of the big cities, at least in Ohio. Now, to kind of wrap things up, and I'll just finish by saying this. Based on what we hear from T-Mobile and their network vision moving forward, T-Mobile is going to be giving a lot of attention to big cities. They're going to be upgrading many, many sites in big cities, big markets like Philadelphia, New York City, Miami, places where they have huge market share. They're going to upgrade those places first. So they're going to kind of go through their markets. They're going to stack them up. They're going to put them in sequence. Here's where we need to upgrade N41, 2.5 gigahertz in all these places. Here's my concern, though. And I'm going to go back to the share screen. I have to prove my point. We go back to the share screen and we look at this map. And we look at T-Mobile. Remember, this is just this segment of Ohio. What can we say about this area here? This is T-Mobile. Guys and gals, there is not a single T-Mobile site in this area. If there is no Sprint keep sites here, we're in trouble. Let's see. 1, too. This entire area is underserved from T-Mobile, and it won't be getting upgrades soon because their focus is N41 and their focus is 5G in urban cities. I'm afraid that if you don't have a tower site in your area right now from T-Mobile, you probably are not going to get one soon. Hope that there is a Sprint site nearby because they will keep it. I can tell you that. But this is a problem. Can you check Klamath Falls, Oregon? I don't know Klamath Falls, Oregon. Just for you, Cesar. Thanks for the super chat. I'll go ahead and do that for you, sir. Where is Klamath Falls, Oregon? Where is that? I don't know where that is, man. Can I get some kind of estimation? I know I'm in the right area. I don't know. All right, so last time I know I'm in Oregon here. Klamath Falls? I can search it by zip code. Give me the zip code. Where's Klamath Falls? Oh, man. I know you said I could search it by zip code. What do you do? Go to general? Details? What do I do? Select private provider. Okay, so location search, enter street or city name. Maybe it'll do it here. Does this look right? Can you confirm? Does this look right, Cesar? Klamath Falls? Yep, that looks right. I think we are here. All right. Okay, so this is Sprint. What do you need to see? Which carrier? All right, so that's Sprint. Here's T-Mobile. 2 tower sites in Klamath Falls. Verizon. You guys think Verizon will be good in Klamath? Nope. Verizon is not good in Klamath Falls. They've got 1 tower site in the middle of the city and 1 on the edge. Verizon is not good there, sir. We found a weakness. It looks to me, I think AT&T was the best provider there. What happened? I think I just went too far. There we go. No, AT&T is similar to Verizon's. T-Mobile. And then here's Sprint. I guess the combination of Sprint and T-Mobile's the best because Sprint has 2 tower sites. T-Mobile's got 1 or 2. This is a rough area, man. You don't have much coverage there. Ooh, that's rough. Sorry, Cesar. That's going to be tough. I hope you got good Wi-Fi out there. Oh, man, that's crazy. Hey, if you want a great representation of Verizon density, check out Modesto, California, you say. Hope you don't mind if I do. Let's go to Modesto. That's SoCal, isn't it? Modesto. Holy crap, look at LA. That is nuts. I don't know where Modesto is. Not really sure. Northern California. Oh, okay, I thought it was Southern California. Modesto. Verizon is king of LA. Really? Let's see what we get for Modesto. Just because I love Zero Cool RF. He's the homie. Okay. All right, so we are looking at Modesto, California. This is Sprint. Let me zoom out a little bit. Here's Modesto. That's Sprint. Here's T-Mobile. Much better. Much better than Sprint. There's AT&T. That's really nice. See how they're kind of like spaced out? That's pretty good, right? There's balance. Let's look at Verizon, as Carlos would call it. Did I pass it too far? There we go. Wait, where did... Lined up. Where's the coverage inside of here? Now, if you notice, it's like one every mile. No 5G NR over there. That's another thing you could do a cell mapper is you can look at that. Wow. So what's with the gap here? That must mean that the signal reaches in this space. I'd be curious to see what the speeds are in this area. Wow. Look at how the cell sites are just lined up. Got a nice bunch up here. There's bunches there. Oh, wow. What is that? Look at that, guys and gals. That is incredible. They've got a tower site every 1,000 feet. Let's take a look at this cluster. So here's Verizon. Oh my goodness, Caleb. Wow. Well done. Well done, sir. Here's Sprint. That leaves a lot to be desired from Sprint. Here's AT&T. That's pretty good. Let's see if T-Mobile's as good as AT&T or better. T-Mobile's pretty good. I got to give it to T-Mobile there. T-Mobile's doing good things. That's a nice tower density from T-Mobile. Wow, that's a lot of sites. These looks like T-Mobile and Verizon are likely the best carriers here. Now, another thing for you to look at is also the carriers, the number of carriers on there. So here's a band 12 only site. Here's a 66 only site. You know, these are good sites, 2, 4, 12, and 66, right? Multiple carriers. AT&T is a mess. Yeah. Well, I'll assume that the red are indeed there. So, yeah, that's nice. That is nice stuff. Wow. That must be a big population of people there. All right, let's kind of wrap things up, man. That was a pretty nice job there, Zero Cool. Happy to see that. Wow. United States. You could see what's going on in Nebraska. This is Nebraska, y'all. Oh, man. T-Mobile in Nebraska. Yeah, that's a lot of space between these two sites. Band 4 only? That's trouble. These are trouble areas for T-Mobile. That's an issue. Let's see. AT&T in Nebraska. Whoa. All right, guys. Hear me out. AT&T is good here. AT&T is really good in Nebraska. Okay, I had no idea. If you live in Nebraska, you need to have AT&T. Let's see. Sprint. Awful. Sprint is trash in Nebraska. T-Mobile, not good either. Worse than Sprint. Ugh, it's horrible. Is Verizon any good there? Whoa. Now, the only concern I have, and it's not a big concern, but a lot of these sites are band 13. But that is a lot of sites. And if they were to add, band 4, band 5, I don't know, whatever they got in this area, the network is probably really fast. Holy crap. Look at this area. That's Verizon. This is Nebraska. That's Verizon. Watch this, y'all. Here's AT&T. It's a good carrier. Look at T-Mobile. There's no way you could have T-Mobile in this area. Norfolk, Madison, Fullerton, St. Paul, Loop City. This is trouble for, what the heck, man? Holy crap. There's like nothing for T-Mobile here. This is trouble. Sprint's not helping them either. Even with the merger, look at the Sprint coverage. It's on the freeway. There's nothing. Sprint, you can make an argument, is even worse. What the heck? Who's the roaming partner for Sprint out here? What? There's not a single tower site. Bismarck doesn't have any Sprint, really? Man. Wow. I'm not a robot. Man. Somebody told me to look up northern Michigan. Going all the way up here. All right, let's pick this random place in Michigan. AT&T's pretty good. It looks like a couple areas here are going to be kind of rough. Right, this area here, this area here. Let's take a look at T-Mobile here. It's good on the left-hand side. But like AT&T, it's got these gaps out here. It's not bad. A lot of band 71. It should be okay. Sprint, not good. If you're not on the freeway, you have no signal from Sprint. Nothing. Let's see Verizon. Verizon's good. Now you see how the Verizon fills in the gaps? Like in this area here. Traverse City, Michigan. Traverse City, Michigan. I can do that for you, Doe. Where's the location here? Location. Here we are. Traverse City, Michigan. All right, so that's Verizon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, maybe 13 or 14 sites in this area. This might be trouble. Out this way, there's going to be some coverage issues there. Need some low band. That's going to be troubling. This area here. Yeah. Where is the coverage? Whoa. I don't see anything good going on here outside of Traverse. These are going to be trouble areas here. Grand Traverse county line with Kikalabasa, whatever that is. Yeah, this is a tough area here. Let's see if another carrier is better. Who knows? Maybe AT&T or T-Mobile are better. You never know. AT&T is pretty good. Similar to Verizon. T-Mobile's not good. Not many sites. Band 12 only site, 12 and 71. That's a good tower site. That's going to help. Yeah, not very good. Yeah, this is going to be trouble. There's no coverage here. Why? Like nobody lived there or something? Sheesh. Dang, Barry. Oh, man. Oh, my goodness. Near Solon Swamp? Ooh. No coverage from T-Mobile in Solon Swamp. Sprint, nothing. AT&T, they got some sites scattered in there. Solon Swamp. And, what else we got here? Verizon. Let's check Verizon here. Nothing in this area from Verizon. Wait, it's not showing the sites. Okay. Yeah, no coverage out here for Verizon. Yeah, this is a rough area, man. You took me Lake Terrace, Lake Traverse, Little Traverse Lake. That's rough, man. Not good cellular coverage out there. Zach, you ain't lying, bro. Wadsworth. I know Wadsworth, Ohio. That's by Medina. Yes, sir. I was actually just there, dude. My testing took me out there. Where are we at here? What city is this? I don't know where I am right now. Let me go to the CLE real quick, and then I'll work my way back. Ashland, I should be close. Feel like I'm real close here. Nope, too far. No, I'll just look it up here. Anyway. We're going to Twitter. We are going to Twitter. What's happening? Breaking news. We got breaking news, y'all. You guys ready for the breaking news? Here it is. Shentel, T-Mobile, progressing in wireless assets and operations acquisition deal. T-Mobile is inching closer towards acquiring only the wireless assets and operations of Shenandoah Telecommunications Company, otherwise known as Shentel. The Edinburgh-based company announced in its third quarter financial and operating results earlier this month. November 3rd, both sites agreed in principle to resolve disputed terms and work towards finalizing the process that would allow T-Mobile to acquire Shentel's wireless assets and operations, the report said. Shentel officials have stressed that T-Mobile is only working toward acquiring Shentel's wireless assets and operations. So, if this is indeed the case and we have a deal, is this official news? Zero Cool RF, can we confirm that this is official news? Don't see anything new here. That would be huge for the coverage. Let me show you why the Shentel deal is important. Let's do that. Let me show you guys why Shentel is important for T-Mobile. I wonder if I can just search in Shentel here. Will it be Shentel? Nope. I might have to do Shenandoah. Give me a hard time here. C-Spire. Sprint X Virgin Mobile. They got everything on here. Oh, I got to do my share screen. My bad, y'all. Here we go. Okay. I see bluegrass. Zero cool. If I select Sprint, will it show me native coverage? Or do I have to look up Chantel? PLMN? I don't know what their PLM is. This is, yeah, I can't look them up as Chantel. It's not in there. Just look it up as Sprint. Okay, I can do that. Okay, so we got to go over here, y'all. So here's Ohio. Here's Pennsylvania. If we're looking at kind of like West Virginia-ish, Virginia, all right, so here's over by like Maryland and Delaware. I'm guessing this would be an area that is nicely occupied for Chantel. So watch. They got the highways covered, but they don't really have much outside of it, right? See, these are nicely located here. If I connect Sprint, T-Mobile, Somersville, Wayne. I feel like that's okay. Here we go. Here's AT&T. Here's T-Mobile. Here's Sprint. Yeah, look at that. Look at this for Sprint, guys. Look at that. That's nice clusters. AT&T's good there too. Wow. I'd like you guys to look at this coverage area. This is T-Mobile's native coverage. They have one tower site here. Watch what happens when I connect to Sprint. That's why the Chantel deal needs to happen. This is exactly why the Chantel deal needs to happen. Here's T-Mobile. There's one tower site here. Here's Sprint. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 sites. T-Mobile is non-existent here. That's incredible. Absolutely tremendous. T-Mobile is useless in this area. With Sprint, they are tremendous. You get what I'm saying? All right, we got a projected deal on Chantel going. That's good. All right. I hope you all enjoyed the show. Thank you all so much for being here. You guys are amazing. Thank you for supporting the SMT. Please like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it to your socials, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, wherever else. Email it to your friends, text message everybody, let them know about the SMT. If you guys appreciate what we're doing here on the channel, you know, that's how you could help. Sharing, liking, watching all the content. You guys are great. If you're new, it's your first time here, consider subscribing. Activate the bell notification icon so you never miss an upload from the SMT. Links in the description box down below here. All types of stuff. The @SneedTech Twitter handle. We're on Periscope Live. There's ways to donate. Thank you for that. all that donated tonight. Thank you guys so much. You guys are the best. Thank you for supporting the patrons. We've got some new Patreon members. Welcome to you all. More content up and coming for December. I think I've got a video early for you this week. We'll also have a couple of early access, so you guys will get those perks. We also got a live stream up and coming this week. A lot of stuff coming in wireless. You guys will be the first to know it. The SMT always bringing it to you. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to all who hung out in the live chat and participated. Thank you all who passively watched. You guys are awesome. Again, thank you guys for supporting the SMT. Hope to see you soon on the next live stream. Peace.